Committee will be in order, and thank you very much for taking time, each of the members, for being here today. We're here today to consider H.R. 2609, the Energy and Water Development and Related Agencies Appropriation Act. This act provides for annual funding for national defense nuclear weapons activities, Army Corps of Engineers, some of my best friends, programs under the Department of Education and other related agencies. This year's bill totals $30.4 billion in annual funding, which is $2.9 billion below fiscal year 2013 enacted levels and $4.1 billion below the President's request for these programs. It includes key spending on nuclear weapons safety, infrastructure, and environmental cleanup efforts. It also prioritizes funding for all of the above solutions to energy independence. And I especially want to thank my dear friend, the gentleman, the young Chairman Freelyheisen, and also the dear friend that I have from Ohio, Ranking Member Capter, for their important work working together, not just on their subcommittee, but the friendship they enjoy very much also. And if I could, I'd like to yield at this time to the gentlewoman, the Ranking Member, for any comments she'd like to make. Gentlewoman's recognized.
No, I just welcome both of them here today. I have no comment.
Thank you very much. We're both delighted that you're here, and on behalf of the committee, I want to say, without objection, anything that you want to give us in writing will be entered into the record. I'm delighted both of you are here, and good to see you. We'll now yield first to the gentleman, Chairman of the subcommittee.
Thank you, Chairman Sessions and Representative Slaughter, Ranking Member. It's my honor to bring the 2004 Energy and Water Bill before you today, and let me say I do it with my ranking, Marcy Capter, a good friend and co-worker, and very proud to be able to work with her and recognize her loyalty to the process and her contribution. As you said, Mr. Chairman, our bill for fiscal year totals over $30 billion, 2.9 below last year's level and more than $4 million below the President's request. The allocation we received this year made for some pretty difficult decisions, but in a bipartisan tradition, we work hard to incorporate priorities and perspectives from both sides of the aisle. We placed, as you can quite imagine, our highest priority on national defense, our nuclear arsenal, the nuclear deterrent, certainly focused on our continual important work of the Army Corps and other activities in which the government must take the lead. Our bill provides $7.6 billion, an increase of $98 million above the fiscal year 2013 budget to modernize our nation's nuclear weapons stockpile and support its infrastructure. In the area of defense, nuclear nonproliferation is funded at $2.1 billion, $334 million below fiscal year 2013. Our recommendation increases the core budget by $50 million above the President's request and redirects funds to ensure our waterways and harbors keep America open for business. So this is certainly about jobs and the economy. As in previous years, the bill maintains the constitutional role of Congress in the appropriations process by ensuring that all worthy core projects have a chance to compete for funding. While there's less of it, but there's $50 million more, there's strict competition. Basic science programs total $4.7 billion, just above last year's post-sequestration levels. Environmental cleanup programs are included in the bill to address the continuing legacy of the Manhattan Project and other contaminated sites. Within this level, key increases are made for the most pressing of cleanup priorities and construction projects. In order to find room for our bill's core priorities, applied energy and research and development had to be cut. Our recommendation prioritizes funding in this area for programs which support American manufacturing jobs, stable energy prices, and diversity of energy supply. The bill includes money for fossil energy technologies, $656 million for nuclear energy activities. Both of these programs are cut below the fiscal 2000 post-sequester level. And finally, just a comment on Yucca Mountain. We have similar language to what we've had in the past. The The recommendation includes $25 million to sustain the program, along with similar languages last year, prohibiting activities that would keep the facilities from being usable in the future. It also supports the good work of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to get that application finished. No funding is included for requested activities to move past the Yucca Mountain Repository Program. If and when Congress authorizes changes to the program of record, the committee will consider funding these requests. I want to thank you for your time and attention, and I respectfully ask for an open rule so that all members of this body can take the opportunity to make their own contributions to our proposal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. By the way, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be sure that you have a copy of your report. I'd like to talk with you about it. I'm going to ask that the clerk please take an extra copy, but ensure that the chairman has a copy of the report that came out. Thank you very much. The gentlewoman's recognized.
Chairman Sessions, Ranking Member Slaughter, and members of the Rules Committee, I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to appear today with our chair, Congressman Frelinghuysen, a very, very hard-working chairman, who tried to produce a bill, a very important bill, that is essential to our country today and tomorrow, and I join him in our request that the committee provide an open rule. This is an important bill because within it is contained America's nuclear security capabilities, our energy future, and also the future of waterborne commerce in this country with the role of the Army Corps of Engineers. As the chairman mentioned, our subcommittee's allocation is $30.4 billion, more than $4 billion below the budget request, however, and $2.8 billion below the 2013 level. I have to say that the chairman tried his best to craft a reasonable bill, prioritizing the security programs, the Corps of Engineers water resource programs, but honestly, reasonable funding for those areas required deep and severe reductions in other important areas of the bill. Importantly, to our future, our energy future, there's a 60% reduction in renewable energy programs. We're living at a moment in history when we are drawing down finite resources, but there will be a day when we have to look toward new systems. And cutting research in half in these areas, I think, is very destructive. And then there is an 81% reduction in an account called ARPA-E, which is our advanced energy programs, inventing systems that require the highest science and the highest capabilities. Within the constraints of these allocations, the bill rightly provides funding for an advanced commitment to American manufacturing, ensuring technological advances through breakthroughs so we can make goods in America again, and also security funding. I've mentioned the weapons programs to make them efficient, safe, and reliable deterrent. But I have to say that the weapons increase does come at the expense of non-proliferation, equally important to national security, as well as our defense cleanup, which just seems to back up the defense nuclear cleanup. And it's a very serious issue for many of our members in the districts that they represent, and certainly for the country as a whole. Let me just say that the bill, in the judgment of our side, does not invest sufficiently in dam safety or flood protection, hydropower modernization, nor infrastructure. And when we think about the return on investment, there's no question that infrastructure improvement would be our largest job creator, and what we get in the future is so much more than we invest today. It really makes sense to move more of these projects up, but this bill doesn't come close to addressing that backlog, which would do a whole lot to employ people in this country. And finally, in terms of renewable energy and research, we know that private ventures are dependent on advanced research that the government does support, and shortchanging those sectors really will hinder American competitiveness. China's eating our lunch in so many other areas. They shouldn't be doing it in energy. And finally, investing in American competitiveness on the advanced energy front, the bill effectively ends ARPA-E. and funds the science account at 5% below 2013. And these are programs that truly drive innovation. So thank you so very much for allowing us to be here today. And again, it's a great pleasure to work with Congressman Frelinghuysen. We have a really great committee. Our members are hard workers. They show up for meetings, and we've given the best bill that we could under the circumstances, and we do ask for the open rule.
Thank you very much. I appreciate both your comments. The hard work that goes into this, looking at the intricacies of billions of dollars, in this case some $40 billion, is important and does make a difference. I would hasten to offer some comments. I don't think that China is eating our lunch on energy. I think we're eating their lunch on energy because the price of energy in this country through natural gas is substantially lower than the cost of building their nuclear power plants. If they're eating our lunch, we should be doing nuclear power plants also, and we're not. And we're not because of the political viability of that, but we are eating people's lunch because of natural gas. That's why our small manufacturing firms have roared back and why we see American competitiveness going. So I disagree with you. I don't think anybody is eating our lunch, especially China, on energy. Secondly, spending more money on infrastructure. Look, I'm for that, but I was opposed to the $780 billion stimulus that went through this place 4 years ago with the president because it didn't help jobs. And for us to sit here and beat the drums on spending more money on infrastructure, we do need to, but it needs to be done properly. But we're going to have to do it with an eye for long-term job creation, not, as was stated at the time, shovel-ready jobs. That does not work. The things that work are long-term sustenance, building projects of infrastructure that makes a difference, and I tend to believe that the Republican ideas about that return ROI rather than just talking about some jobs that might be available without them correspondingly providing this country with what we need. And I think that Mr. Frelinghuysen, I agree with you on the long-term infrastructure building, that we need to put more money in, but it's going to have to be for return on investment. Mr. Frelinghuysen, I'd like to direct you, if you could, to page 84 of the report. And I had an opportunity during the break and had previously to go and do a little bit of work, not on Yucca Mountain, but that's my questions for you today. And I see where 1, 2, 3 paragraphs down, it says, in addition, the recommendation provides $25 million to support the Yucca Mountain High-Level Waste Geological Repository. Well, we're not able to put anything in there. The great senator from the state of Nevada has made sure that all the billions that we put in there, we haven't moved 1 ounce of product in. Why are we putting $25 million more into something that seemingly has an endless life, but not for the intended purpose that we were going after?
You and I and the American taxpayers have invested probably more than $12 billion in building this repository, and I think we need to keep the potential for its use alive. So we're not talking about wasting money here. We want to make sure that there's some capabilities for it to be used in the future if we can get it licensed.
So we don't billions and then still spend 25 billions, but still spend 25 million more.
Well, if it should be approved, there would be some costs associated with reopening it, and there would be costs related to obviously transportation, things that would for moving nuclear waste from many sites around the country. So it's to keep this substantial investment from disappearing. We put a lot of money into the
Oh, I'm well
Yucca
aware
Mountain
of
project, you know.
I am well aware of that, and I'm not opposed to the project. I'm simply saying that I think that somebody is milking us, and it's a bad deal. At some point, it becomes a bad deal. I'm certainly not trying to suggest to you that we don't need to do it, but your point is we spent billions. Now we're going to spend a few million just to keep it operational until we can figure out.
Well, if it's going to be used in the future, we have to make sure it's it's accessible, and some of those dollars, I believe, are directed towards transportation, but there are still a lot of expenses associated with Yucca Mountain just proceeding with the licensing process.
Well, it's my hope. Gosh knows, I need to attend some of the hearings myself, but it's my hope that there would be some evaluation to look at this. At some point, this just can't be the big dig, and somebody has to be responsible.
Well, right now, Mr. Chairman, it's closed. This keeps the prospect of it being opened and utilized as a national repository for all these sites where we're maintaining nuclear waste.
So in other words, this part of the money that we're paying people because we didn't live up to taking it like we said we would, for them to make different decisions on site where they are.
Well, there are dozens of sites, nearly 100 around the country,
Right.
where you have high-level waste. At some point in time, we hope there'll be a central repository. The President has suggested a Blue Ribbon Commission, which did not even include the prospect of taking another look at Yucca Mountain. And there was bipartisan support in the committee to keep Yucca Mountain alive, since we've expended so much money. And with all due respect, the Senate later may not be around in the future, and this would constitute a pretty good investment to getting it reopened and utilized.
And that's the thinking of the committee, and I understand that. I appreciate the gentleman. Mrs. Fox.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate all the positive comments that have come out of our two colleagues today about the process they've gone through and bringing this bill forward, and I want to compliment them on it, but I have no questions. Thank you.
Mrs. Lauder.
Two of my favorite people are here this afternoon, and I do appreciate the fact that you all work so well together, but we're very concerned about the results. I think, again, we're very short-sighted in what we're doing, cutting out all research money. We are falling dreadfully behind. And the administration says, it's the usual thing here, that it's so bad for them that they would recommend a veto should it go through the Senate. But thank you for your work. I'm sorry that we could not have come up with better. We seem never to be able to meet the needs of the American public, but we got plenty to do with other things that come along. But unfortunately, this very important bill, I think, is really lacking in resources. But thank you.
Would the gentlelady yield just for a comment in response to the chairman's comments on natural gas? Ohio is one of the beneficiary states, big time, my home state, in terms of the natural gas discoveries, and it's lifting the economy. Many of those companies are tied to Texas drilling firms that send in contractors and so forth. So in a way, our states have a little bit of a shared interest there. But if you look at the future far down the road, and frankly, if you look at our trade accounts today, you'll see how out of whack overall we are in terms of importing energy versus being self-sufficient and even exporting energy. The accounts have been in the negative for a very, very long time. So I was referring not to one specific sector, but rather to the cumulative effect of all energy and how important energy independence is. It would benefit Texas. It would benefit Ohio. But we have to also look at finite resources, those that might not be there 100 years from now, and new systems that are very important to invest in, where Texas and Ohio, I think, will be leaders in the days ahead. But I share your joy at the natural gas discoveries, and frankly, the technology for the fracking, for the horizontal drilling, actually came out of our fossil energy programs at the Department of Energy. So the investment that the American people made is paying off big time now for our country. But we just can't put all of our eggs in one basket. So what we're saying is that we have to be as successful in other technologies as well. Thank you. Thank you for yielding.
Mr. Chairman, let me ask unanimous consent to put the administration statement in the record.
Without objection, the SAP will be entered at the record, and all the members should have now received a copy of that. And as the gentlewoman stated, no surprise, the President of the United States, if we're presented with this bill, his senior advisors would recommend a veto on this and other bipartisan bills that have been coming out of the House of Representatives. Gentleman, Mr. Bishop is recognized.
Actually, Mr. Speaker, you all have been hitting on a couple of elements that are very significant and important to me. So I do have a lot I'd like to say about Yucca Mountain, especially as someone from the West. And I do have a lot I'd like to say about natural gas. I congratulate what Ohio and Texas, who are 96% privately owned, are doing in that area, but there's a whole lot that you could be doing to help in energy independence if you'd allow some of us who are not privately owned. Like we're 70% federally owned with a whole bunch of energy development potential that's there that currently is being prohibited from that fact. So enjoy your private status while you have it, because it is the benefit that you get that we in the West simply are yearning to be as free as you are. And since this bill actually does not give us a starting point to go into the details of that, all I'll do is express my frustration with reality. Thank you for your hard work. You've given us a very good bill, and I appreciate it. Kneel back.
Thank you very much. Gentleman, Mr. McGovern is recognized.
Well, thank you very much, and I want to thank both of you for being here today. And again, I think it must be awfully frustrating to be on the Appropriations Committee these days, given the fact that the majority continues to insist that we're going to balance the budget through cuts to non-defense discretionary spending, even though it accounts for only about 17% of federal spending. And as a result, you get allocations that are extremely low, and terrible choices have to be made. And I agree with Ms. Capter. I mean, I think cutting advanced research projects or cutting renewable energy and energy reliability and efficiency, I think that is a big mistake. I think we're going to pay for that in the long term. And I think cutting the nuclear non-proliferation programs are also a mistake. I mean, how can we hope to keep nuclear weapons out of the hands of terrorists if we cut nuclear non-proliferation activities by $600 million compared to last year? I mean, there's a price we pay for these cuts. And again, I'm not faulting you because you're given an allocation and you have to work within that allocation. But I think our country is going to pay a big price down the road. I think we already are paying a price. And I do worry about China, and I worry about other countries that are investing more in these renewable energies. I mean, it's great that we have oil, we have gas, but there are other alternatives out there. And I think the more we diversify, the better for our economy, the better for jobs. And, so I do worry about that. I do notice that in the bill however, there was an amendment that was accepted to allow firearms on Army Corps of Engineers land, which I know is the most important issue in the world to the gun lobby, but I will tell you that I think most people in this country are more concerned about some of the cutbacks in some of these programs. I will agree kind of with the chairman of the committee when I think that the millions of dollars that we're going to invest more in Yucca Mountain, I think is a wasteful investment. I don't think that's going to ever happen. I don't agree it should happen. We may disagree on that. I think it was a bad idea to begin with, but just to continue to invest millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars more in that, when that money could have been invested in research or renewable energy or reliability and efficiency programs, I think would have been a better thing to do. But I think, again, this is not a reflection on your work, but I think that the majority in this Congress need to understand what they're doing here with these low allocations. I mean, you're hurting industries, you're hurting jobs, you're you're robbing our future. And I don't blame the administration for wanting to veto it. I think not because there weren't good intentions in trying to make decisions, but because you have to keep on investing. And again, I'm not saying investing wastefully. I'm saying we've got to do this wisely. But nuclear nonproliferation or renewable energy or these other research programs, I don't think are wasteful initiatives. So I thank you for being here. An open rule is great, but doesn't help with the allocation. And because what people are going to be forced to do is rob Peter to pay Paul when they go on the House floor and offer these amendments. So that doesn't solve our problem. But I hope that the majority understand what they're doing with these budgets that they're putting forward, and I hope we can move beyond that and get back to the point where we're investing adequate amounts so that we can get our economy back on the right track and create the jobs that I think will ultimately result in reducing our deficit. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I note that your dialogue comes right in line with Father Conroy being here today. We do need some divine intervention occasionally, and having the chaplain of the House here available, whether we're robbing Peter to pay Paul or what we're doing, will come into play, and we're delighted that our chaplain is with us.
We might need an exorcist.
And we might need, no telling, but we're delighted to have our great chaplain with us today. And, Mr. Chairman, it's not often that he comes up here. So I don't know whether you convinced him.
He came up for you, Mr. Chairman.
To help the chairman, to help me. Well, God bless him. God bless him. Gentlemen, Mr. Chairman Cole's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You learn a lot. First of all, I welcome my two colleagues from the Appropriations Committee, and they are model appropriators. They really do work well together, and both, frankly, are always. I have the privilege of serving on a number of subcommittees with my friend from Ohio, and always enjoy, not this one, unfortunately, but always enjoy listening to what she has to say, and certainly the chairman. So I've had the privilege of hearing most of the debate, so I want to confine my comments to two areas. I agree very much with what my friend from Massachusetts said. It is a very difficult time to be on the Appropriations Committees, and in part because of the lower allocations which you two have had to wrestle with in this committee. And what I would hope we do long term is understand the real solution to our budgetary problems are on the other side of the ledger. And you can't say I'm opposed to cuts in discretionary spending and simultaneously oppose all reforms in entitlement spending. And I think that's essentially where the administration's been. That's where our friends on the other side of the aisle have been. I've seen no ideas on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid that ever reduce spending. So you got to do it one way or the other, unless your answer is we're just going to keep raising taxes. And frankly, you can't raise them fast enough to catch up with entitlements. So we'll continue to have this problem on the Appropriations Committee until members of both parties and both chambers actually face up to the entitlement problem that we have, and I think every appropriator knows that we have. That's what's unbalancing the budget, and that's what forces really difficult decisions to be made on the discretionary side. Now, to my friend from Utah, I've been listening to your and agreeing with your concerns about the amount of federal land in Utah for years. And finally, as I was listening, I finally thought of a solution that I would recommend you and I could work on. The way this has worked in American history, if you'll just give that federal land back to the Indians, it'll be taken from them and redistributed to everybody else. So there's a way out of your problem. And I might help you with the first half. So, but anyway, I want to thank my friends for coming and yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time. The gentleman, Judge Hastings, recognized.
I really wanted to say something, but I think I better not. Mr. Chairman, I thank both our presenters and distinguished members, and I have no questions.
Thank you very much. The gentleman, Mr. Woodall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was thinking exactly what Mr. Cole said. He's thinking about it from an appropriator's standpoint. I'm thinking about it from a freshman, sophomore legislator's standpoint. This is the investment side of the ledger. Every appropriator who comes up here, they come and they ask for open rules so we can do the House's will, work our best product possible, and almost every single line item in there is about investment in America's future. And in the now 2 years, 6 months, and 5 days that I have been in this institution, I've had nary one vote that a bill has passed and gone to the President's desk to change the mandatory spending side of the ledger, unless you want to count the Budget Control Act. And I don't think anyone would hold that up as a model of the way to get things done. In fact, that's what led to these 302 A and B numbers that we're working with here today. It's absolutely bad for America that we're being penny wise and pound foolish on the investment side of the ledger, and equally bad for America that we're not willing to make difficult decisions on the mandatory spending side of the ledger. It's unconscionable that I can be 43 years old as I sit here today. I've got 20 more years to prepare for my retirement, and this body doesn't have the strength of will to tell me that I'm not going to get what my mom and dad got on Medicare and Social Security. There's just not the money there, and I'm not going to get it, and the time to tell me is now, not when I'm 64 and a half, but today. So I very much appreciate the work that you all do under very difficult circumstances. I do want to ask, though, because the life of an appropriator is very difficult to see from the non-appropriating side of the ledger. I rely on counsel from my seatmate here, Mr. Cole, to help me see behind the curtain. Take something like ARPA-E, for example. Ms. Capter, you mentioned that. I'm a big fan of ARPA-E and the work that they do. I really think that's what we talk about when we talk about investment, those things that are so cutting edge that someone else isn't willing to put up the private capital for them. We've got to give them that seed of an idea. What can we say about an account like ARPA-E that's seen such a big reduction? Is that a reflection of a lack of confidence in what ARPA-E is doing, Mr. Chairman, or is that simply a reflection of the lack of dollars?
Actually, I have a very positive view of ARPA-E. It was created to sort of mirror the defense equivalent, DARPA, and it's no reflection on the leadership. As a matter of fact, some of the greatest out-of-the-box ideas have come out of ARPA-E. I think it's basically a question of allocation. We're not disapproving. They have a new person, new woman who's the leader of ARPA-E. I think both of her are impressed by her credentials. I like the expression, I wish it were not as low as it is. But in reality, we had to make some tough choices. Our primary job on the committee is to provide for the reliability of our nuclear stockpile. People may not like it. We may never use it. It's damn expensive. We've got all sorts of cleanups from the Manhattan projects and waste and things. It's one of those tough issues. But personally speaking, I have a very high regard for that organization, which to some extent has been outside the traditional Department of Energy research and basic science projects. So I feel positive about it. I don't have any negative feelings about it at all.
I hope to be able to work through the open rules process to try to reallocate some money there, realizing you all have done all that you can do. Let me ask you about something that affects my part of the world. It's the Southeast Crescent Regional Commission. For folks who may not follow the Southeast Crescent Regional Commission, you're not alone. It's relatively new. It was authorized in the 2008 Farm Bill, intended to kind of reflect the Appalachian Regional Commission's work. But as I read the committee's report, I see that several of these regional commissions are out there. The Northern Border Regional Commission, for example, receiving $1.3 million for next year, the same the President requested. The Denali Commission, supporting Alaska's, receiving $7.4 million, the same amount the President requested. The Delta Regional Authority, down there around the mouth of the Mississippi River, $11.3 million, the same that the President requested. Appalachian Regional Commission, $70 million. But this Southeast Crescent Regional Commission, again, just created in the 2008 Farm Bill. I think the authorization has expired now. It was authorized for $30 million a year. When it first received an appropriation, it was in the 2010 fiscal year, I believe. Got $250,000. Got that $250,000 again in 11 and again in 12. President recommended just canceling it all together in his budget this year, but it's still back in for another $250,000. It's an economic development commission for 7 states: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. 7 states, and it's received $250,000. Thinking about penny wise, pound foolish, I can't even imagine they're paying for letterhead and keeping doors open for $250,000. The president said this doesn't meet his test for what's an effective, efficient use of dollars. Would you put this on the list of things that perhaps we can close down without being penny wise, pound foolish, and reallocate those dollars to some of these accounts that we all agree need more money?
Well, as you pointed out, this is the recommendation is the same as the previous year. You'd be surprised how many members weigh in. They can't weigh in for congressionally directed funding, but they can weigh in on behalf of their region and their part of the country. And like the Appalachian Regional Commission, of course, has been around since the days of the Great Depression. This is a new commission. I can't tell you that I have intimate knowledge of exactly how that $250,000 could be spent, but there are certainly, as you said, representatives from 7 states who feel that his work is important to their region. So I'm sure that you could take to the floor to remove it, but I would suspect you'd probably find some members taking opposing views respectfully. I understand the desire to see less programs, and we did our level best to reduce where we could.
We have most of those 7 states represented here on this committee, so I've got the right audience to begin that effort. You all have spoken so passionately about those things that are so very important, and neither of you believe they are getting enough dollars. I say that about most of the decisions that we make here. I know those dollars are touching a family somewhere in the United States of America, but the question is priorities, and are these dollars going to the highest priorities? You all have identified some high priorities that really need those dollars, and I hope that as appropriators you view this open rule process as attempts by your colleagues to fund those priorities that you have identified as being important, and weigh in on those things that we would give up in our parts of the world in order to make those things happen. And again, I really do appreciate what you all do.
I think we do try to be regionally sensitive as a subcommittee, and that is the newest commission. And usually what the states do is they get together, they begin to identify common interests, and initially the funding level is not very high because it's mainly just discussions. The fact is it does have an authority to be there, and it is a part of the country that faces some unique challenges, and it's just starting out. We don't think that they need a lot of money, but it was an authorized initiative, so I think we felt an obligation to not take you off the map.
In a part of the world where we sometimes do feel picked on, I appreciate the fact that New Jersey and Ohio aren't going to make those decisions for us. You'll let us weigh in and make those decisions ourselves, and I'm grateful to you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Post, recognized.
I appreciated the discussion. I appreciated the enthusiasm for the ARPA-E project. I think these kinds of early stage investments are really about investing in the future. Low dollar, high potential return. Of course, there's a lot of failures along the way too. That's what nature invention is. Of course, DARPA has brought us many great things we take for granted in defense of our country today, and I'm sure ARPA-E has and will continue to. So I'll look forward to working with the gentleman from Georgia and others to see if we can find mutually agreeable ways to restore some of the funding. Very little money in the scheme of things, but large potential impact. Look forward to working with both the chair and ranking member as well to see if we can accomplish that through action on the floor. And I'll yield back.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, gentlemen. Mr. Webster. Questions. The gentlewoman with the new haircut.
I know, it's an unfortunate.
I like that. You know, I got my hair
It
cut,
will grow.
too. You got them all
I noticed
cut.
that I'm not alone there. Some of us got a little bit.
Chairwoman's recognized.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank these wonderful members for their bipartisan spirit and the work product that they are presenting before us. Lamentably, it's got, as always, a veto message, but it obviously is not the amount of funding that you would like for all of those projects. But speaking as a Floridian, we are very dependent on our ports for tourism, and tourism dollars is such an important part of our economy, and we're guided in our Florida delegation by Mr. Hastings, who's the co-chair of our delegation, and tomorrow, as a matter of fact, at 8:30, we would be meeting with some of the port directors to discuss the importance that these facilities have for the Sunshine State, unless that tropical storm is coming our way, in which case it won't be called the Sunshine State on Saturday anyway. So thank you to both of you for your time and for the bill before us. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairwoman yields back her time. On behalf of the committee, I want to state that both of you do so well each time you make a presentation, that you come and you're well prepared, you're well versed, you understand your subject matter. On behalf of the committee, I would say back to you that we do recognize that the things that you deal with draw a lot of member attention. And we recognize, notwithstanding Corps of Engineers, beaches, and areas, natural resources of this great nation, that you take a lot of time. We also recognize, and I think, once again, I speak for the committee as we continue to applaud the work that you do, it's my hope that you would find a way as we move forward to meet with your friends within the administration to make sure that you help them to work through those things which will be necessary with sequestration. The cuts that are going to occur, you can give them this document, you can show your hard work, perhaps it's agreed to or not agreed to by both of you, but the ability that you have to work through with the administration on these things, on specific areas of interest that you have, that you represent this body, I think it's going to go a long, long way. I don't like, any more than any other member likes, the position that we're all in, but that's where we are. And these circumstances of the numbers that we deal with mean that the administration is going to have to make decisions also. And we were attempting, I think, in this document to help the administration to know what we were thinking of. It's my hope it won't be tossed aside, but rather that you'll be able to use this within some boundaries of what you agree with, Ms. Capter, and also the chairman, but that you'll be able to use this as some guidepost to how you think best determination of issues would be made. And I don't know if the gentlewoman, the ranking member, has any ideas on that, but I trust both of these members to adequately move forward into discussion and dialogue. And so I do, it sounds like I do speak for the committee in saying good luck. But it's my hope that you will take a document to them and begin working those important processes to make sure that the needs of this nation are also well understood by the administration from your perspective, who are considered experts on behalf of your colleagues. Thank you very much to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll let Chairman Frelinghuysen have the last word, but I just want to put in a word for the committee. I'm sure many days may seem dry to you. Maybe this is a small room. The air conditioning is better than it used to be. But I thought I would just give you one exciting thought to take home if you don't know about this, and that is on the energy front. I saw the most incredible invention that was both a DOE and Department of Defense effort over a number of years. We have a problem in our country when we transmit power, and we have these transmission lines, and from point of origin of generation to point of use, we can lose anywhere from 25 to 80% of the power. And there is a technology now being developed that is absolutely revolutionary. And it creates a very thin metallic fiber that runs through a nitrogen bath, and from point of origin to point of use, it's 100% efficient. When we talk about energy research and development and transforming this country for the next generation, when I see something like that, I'll tell you, I just feel like I don't know, that I know why I'm here. And that, you know, we do good work as a country and we work together, and we have to think in the future, and our bill gives us an opportunity to do that. Let me say it's a great honor for me to be able to work with Chairman Frelinghuysen, a very honest and dedicated public servant who handles his gavel with authority, but also with some kindness on occasion.
Every occasion. Mr. Chairman, thank you and your members for, we have a lot of great engagement with both the Department of Energy, the Army Corps, and all those agencies under our purview. We are in constant contact with them. Obviously, our job is to look after the needs of both members of the aisle in our bill, and I think we've done that to the best way possible. So we're going to move forward, but we have a new Secretary of Energy. I think, with all due respect, a little more energized than his predecessor, and he's also established some pretty good relationships with all of us. So we're looking forward to it.
Well,
Thank
that
you.
bodes well for both of you to continue not only the strong work that you do together, but the ability to move on behalf of this entire body. So we're going to move forward the bill, so get ready. You'll have a chance to be on the floor here very quickly. I want to thank both of you for taking time to be here, and you're both excused at this time. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much, Chairman. This closes the hearing for H.R. 2609, the Energy and Water Development and Related Agencies Appropriations Act, and the Chairman will now be in receipt of a motion. Marcy, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee grant H.R. 2609, the Energy and Water Development and Related Agencies Appropriations Act, an open rule. The rule provides 1 hour of general debate equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Appropriations. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the bill. The rule waives points of order against provisions in the bill for failure to comply with Clause 2 of Rule 21. The rule provides that the bill shall be considered for amendment under the 5-minute rule. The rule authorizes the chair to accord priority and recognition to members who have pre-printed their amendments in the congressional record. Finally, the rule provides one motion to recommit with or without instructions.
You have now heard the motion from the gentlewoman, the Vice Chairman of the committee. And briefly, if the gentleman, Dr. Burgess, were here, he would say it's an open rule. So that's why we're moving. Is there discussion on this? Okay. Seeing no discussion, those in favor of the motion from the gentlewoman from North Carolina signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The gentleman, Dr. Burgess, will be managing the bill on behalf of the Republicans. And the gentleman from Colorado will be managing that for the minority. Further business, we would expect to meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock p.m. on H.R. 761, the National Strategic and Critical Minerals Production Act. This ends our hearing today. Thank you very much.